Darius Cole adjusted the strap of his plain leather briefcase and stepped past the silver line on the floor that marked Authorized Personnel Only. The morning lights of Terminal 4 flickered against the brushed metal walls. He carried no arrogance, just the quiet focus of someone who'd lived by timetables his entire life. From the cockpit door, Captain Hale turned, brows knitting. "Sir, this area's for crew only. Can I see your papers?" The sentence landed like a slap wrapped in etiquette. Heads turned. A flight attendant paused mid-laugh. Someone's coffee lid trembled. Darius blinked once, steady. "I'm here for the briefing." Hale's eyes narrowed. "You're with maintenance?" "No." His voice stayed even. "Leadership." Another voice crackled through the intercom. "4 minutes, Captain." Hale didn't move. He folded his arms, blocking the path. Darius looked down at his wristwatch. A silver timepiece, scratched from years of travel. The second hand swept forward, unbothered by human doubt. He could feel every pair of eyes in the corridor, waiting for him to defend his right to exist here. Instead, he inhaled quietly one measured breath against the hum of turbines beyond the glass. The second hand clicked again. 4 minutes left to prove who he was or who they refused to see. Have you ever been mistaken for less than who you are, just because of how you look, or where you stood? Before we go deeper, tell me, where are you listening from? Are you on a long flight, a late drive, or maybe just scrolling from home? Drop a comment below and hit subscribe so you don't miss the stories that reveal what power, dignity, and truth really sound like. Now, take a breath, because what happens next when the flight attendant steps in will test not just patience, but identity itself. The echo of the intercom faded, swallowed by the soft hiss of the air vents. Captain Hale still stood in the doorway, posture stiff, jaw set in quiet authority. The seconds crawled forward. A faint scuff of shoes broke the silence. A flight attendant stepped closer, tall, sharp uniformed, with her hair pinned tight beneath a navy cap. Her name tag read Mara Singh. She smiled the way professionals do when something uncomfortable needs smoothing out. "Sir," she said softly, "passengers aren't allowed here. We can escort you back to business class." Her tone carried no malice, but it was the kind of politeness that assumed she was right. Behind her, 2 other crew members paused mid-task, pretending not to watch. Darius didn't move. He adjusted his cuff, slow and deliberate. "I'm not a passenger." Mara hesitated. Her eyes darted toward Captain Hale, searching for a cue. Hale crossed his arms and gave a slight nod, as if confirming her unspoken question. She lowered her voice. "I understand, sir, but this area is for authorized personnel only." Something metallic clicked as Darius's briefcase shifted against his leg. He exhaled once, a quiet release of air that almost passed for a sigh. The movement dislodged something from his jacket pocket, a plastic badge holder, half slipped free. The ID card inside caught the overhead light for a second before falling, face down, beneath one of the leather chairs. Neither Hale nor Mara noticed. Darius did. He looked down, then away. His fingers didn't reach for it. The intercom sounded again, neutral and indifferent. "Captain Hale, 4 minutes remaining." The air around them tightened. Darius lifted his gaze, meeting Mara's eyes, not defiant, not pleading, just still. That stillness unnerved her more than anger could have. "Sir," she tried again, a hint of apology in her voice now. "If you'll just come this way." Behind her, one of the junior attendants whispered, "I'm going to record this for the training module." The faint chime of a phone camera activated. A red dot blinked to life. The frame caught Hale's back, Mara's tense posture, and Darius standing perfectly still in the corridor light, the outsider who didn't belong in his own domain. "Passengers aren't allowed here," Mara repeated, softer now. Darius's voice came out low, calm. "I'm not here to fly. I'm here to lead." It wasn't a boast, just a statement of fact, but the words hung in the air like something out of place, too heavy for the small space they filled. A whisper of laughter drifted from a crew member, who hadn't understood. Lead what? No one answered. Mara glanced again at Captain Hale. His expression said, "Enough. Move him out." She gestured toward the terminal's exit, trying to make it appear casual. "Please, sir, let's not make this a scene." The camera captured the moment Darius glanced toward the gate window. Outside, the engines of another jet shimmered in the heat, turbines spinning motion without progress. He turned back, adjusting his briefcase strap, the faint scrape of leather breaking the silence. His hand brushed his wristwatch. The second hand kept ticking, faithful and mechanical, measuring out dignity in increments of time. A young mechanic passing by muttered under his breath, "Guy's lost." Mara winced at the sound. Something inside her recoiled the way empathy sometimes does when duty stands in the way. She looked at Darius again, really looked, and for the first time noticed the details, the well-used briefcase, the watch too fine for someone pretending. "Maybe," she began, but Hale's tone cut through. "Mara, escort him back. We're out of time." The intercom confirmed it. 3 minutes, Captain." Mara swallowed. Her phone still recording, she stepped closer to Darius. The red light blinked twice, steady and small. "Please, sir," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let's just walk out together." Darius's lips curved, not quite a smile. "We're all running late for something, aren't we?" He said it lightly, but the words carried weight, the kind that made people stop for half a second before realizing they'd been spoken to. Mara blinked. Something in her chest tugged confusion, maybe shame, but she kept moving because that's what the job required. The camera panned as she turned. In the frame, Darius stood for one last moment beneath the sterile airport light, his watch glinting with every tick, his ID still lying unseen beneath the chair, proof of identity hidden in plain sight. He didn't pick it up. He didn't need to. For now, time itself was his witness. Mara Singh stood to the side, still holding her phone, the red recording light steady. Her smile had faded completely. Captain Ross Hale remained where he was, an immovable wall in a pilot's uniform, every crease in place. Then another voice entered the moment, calm, professional, but hesitant. First Officer Jenna Lee approached from the adjoining gate, tablet in hand, headset slung over her shoulder. "Captain," she began, keeping her tone respectful, "I think he might be." Hale cut her off before the sentence could form. "I'll handle this." The words snapped through the air like a door slamming. Jenna stopped mid-step. She blinked once, lowering her gaze to the floor. The intercom chimed again, efficient as a stopwatch. 3 minutes till briefing. Darius Cole didn't move. He was still standing exactly where he had been, eyes level with Hale's. He wasn't angry. He wasn't pleading. There was just composure, that disarming kind of calm that makes the aggressor seem louder without raising a voice. Jenna shifted her weight, uncomfortable. She glanced at Mara, whose phone trembled slightly in her hand. Behind them, the corridor lights reflected off the polished metal edges of the doors, scattering tiny flashes of white across Hale's uniform. Each reflection flickered like a warning. "Captain," Jenna tried again, quieter now. "We're cutting it close." "I said I'll handle it," Hale repeated, tone flatter but sharper, like glass. He turned back to Darius. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step out of this area." Darius met his gaze. "And if I don't?" There was no defiance in his tone, only a steady curiosity of a man measuring the limits of another's certainty. Hale's jaw flexed. "Then we'll have to call security." Jenna's eyes widened slightly. "Captain, maybe let me." He didn't even look at her this time. "Stand by, First Officer." The phrase was regulation cold, the kind that turned colleagues into subordinates and opinions into silence. Jenna swallowed hard, her fingers tightening on the tablet until the edges pressed into her skin. Darius's glance flicked toward her brief, almost imperceptible. It wasn't pity, but recognition. Two people watching fairness lose its footing in a place built on hierarchy. Outside the window, A jet engine roared to life. The sound vibrated through the glass, a low hum that filled the pause between words. Mara took a half step forward. "Captain, maybe if we just check his badge." "Later," Hale said. Darius tilted his wrist slightly. The scratched silver watch caught the overhead light again, scattering a faint reflection across the floor, a private reminder of time slipping forward while everyone else stalled. He finally spoke, quietly enough that only those near could hear. "Every second counts, Captain." The phrase landed not as a threat, but as something almost philosophical. Hale frowned, unsure whether to take offense. From somewhere deeper in the terminal came the echo of a boarding announcement, cheerful, distant, and indifferent. The normal world continued, oblivious. Mara's phone kept recording. Jenna looked at the blinking red dot, then back at Darius. For a second, she imagined the video later, how it would look when replayed. The calm man standing still, the captain looming, the woman frozen between duty and decency. Hale took a breath, readying another command. But before he could speak, the intercom cut through again. 2 minutes till briefing. The timing hit like punctuation, a reminder that authority also runs on borrowed time. Darius glanced at the closed briefing door behind Hale, then back at him. "I'd hate for you to be late," he said softly. Hale stiffened. There was something unnerving about the restraint, as if the man in front of him held a quiet knowledge that outlasted rank. Jenna's voice broke the silence, barely audible. "Captain, please." Hale didn't respond. His posture was still perfect, but his eyes flickered just once toward the ID card under the chair, still unseen, glinting faintly in the filtered light. Darius followed his gaze for a fraction of a second, then looked away, expression unchanged. The moment passed, but the silence stayed. When Darius finally turned to leave the crew corridor, no one stopped him. His briefcase brushed the wall as he moved leather against metal, a sound too soft to register but somehow final. Mara lowered her phone. The red dot blinked off. Her heart thudded against her chest as the intercom announced, 2 minutes till briefing. Captain Hale straightened his jacket and walked briskly toward the secured door without looking back. The door hissed shut behind him, sealing the noise inside. For a few seconds, nothing moved. Then Jenna exhaled, long and shaky. "That was," she began, but the words failed her. Mara didn't answer. She stared at the screen in her hand. The last frame showed Darius's back as he walked away, the reflection of airport lights gliding over his watch. She hit save, almost without thinking about procedural habits. The way the crew documented everything. When the system pinged, "File uploaded to training server," she frowned. The video auto-synced to the internal bias response module, where incidents were shared for review. She didn't realize the setting was still public to the company's training network. Across the terminal, technicians, flight staff, and admin employees on break received the same silent notification. New training clip available. The first comment arrived within seconds. User R Meta. Isn't that our new CEO? Then another. User A. Rivera. Wait, what's going on here? Within 10 minutes, the view counter climbed to 5,142. Mara's phone buzzed with alerts she didn't want to read. Her mouth went dry. "Oh no," she whispered. Jenna peered at the screen over her shoulder. The video looped silently, showing Hale confronting Darius. The lack of sound made it worse. Viewers filled in the blanks with their own assumptions. "That's him," Jenna said quietly. "I saw the company memo last week." Mara's thumb hovered over delete, but it was too late. Once shared inside the training cloud, clips replicated automatically for review committees. She could see the counter ticking higher. 5,870, 5,901, 5,944. In the reflection of the gate window, both women appeared side by side, one holding the phone, one staring at it while outside, the tarmac blazing under the noon sun. Jets lifted and landed in smooth intervals, indifferent to human hierarchy. "I didn't mean for this to..." Mara stopped. Her throat felt tight. "I thought it could be a learning example." Jenna nodded faintly. "It will be." She didn't say who. Down the hallway, Darius had stopped by a vending machine. He wasn't thirsty. He just needed stillness. The hum of the refrigeration unit sounded like static in his ears. He checked his watch. 1 minute 50 seconds. Through the glass wall ahead, he could see the briefing room door. Closed. Hale and the other pilots were inside by now. The hum of their voices carried faintly through the barrier of laughter, the scrape of chairs. He adjusted his tie and straightened his shoulders, that subtle armor of professionalism he had learned to wear long before today. Behind him, the flight attendants still watched the video replay. Their reflections flickered on the window beside him, small moving images trapped in glass. Mara whispered, "Should we tell him about the video?" Jenna shook her head. "He already knows. Men like him always know when people are watching." Mara looked again. Darius hadn't turned around, but there was something in the set of his posture, the way he aligned his watch with the ticking second hand, that made her believe Jenna was right. Another intercom call echoed overhead. "Final call for Captain Hale. Pre-flight briefing now in progress." The sound rolled down the hall like a closing curtain. Darius took one step forward, then another, until his reflection merged with the door's mirrored surface. The watch on his wrist caught a final spark of light before disappearing as he passed the corner. The training server pinged again, spreading the file to new devices across departments: HR, operations, flight safety. Someone in communications forwarded it to a friend with a single caption: "You need to see this." And somewhere, in a quiet office high above the runway, a notification blinked on the desktop of Director Paul Green, the man who would soon have to explain to the board how a clip of their new CEO ended up in a bias training folder. At that moment, Darius Cole didn't know it yet. The hum of the airport deepened into a low, restless drone. Somewhere beyond the corridor glass, a plane taxied by, its lights sweeping briefly across the floor. Darius stood still, aware of every second thinning away. His reflection shimmered faintly on the glass wall, a quiet silhouette caught between movement and restraint. Inside the briefing room, muted voices rose and fell behind the closed door. The intercom repeated itself, brisk and unforgiving. "Final call for Captain Hale. Briefing begins in 90 seconds." The words hung in the air like an invisible timer. Mara Singh and Jenna Lee lingered a few steps away, uncertain what to do. Hale, already halfway down the hall, stopped when he noticed Darius hadn't followed. "You're still here," Hale said, tone clipped, as if stating an inconvenience. Darius looked up. "Apparently. I thought we were clear about the crew area." Hale's voice softened, feigning civility. "You'll need to move along, sir. Now." Behind Hale, Jenna shifted. She opened her mouth, hesitated, then closed it. The faint red light on Mara's phone flicked back on the camera and started recording again, this time automatically as part of the training module's incident continuation feature. She didn't stop. "Captain," Jenna said quietly, "we're out of time." He didn't acknowledge her. "Sir," he continued, "I'll have to insist." Darius's briefcase rested against his leg, his hand still on the strap. His eyes dropped briefly to the floor. The ID card, his ID lay face down, the edge of his photo barely visible from under the chair leg. He bent down slowly, picking it up between two fingers. For a moment, no one breathed. He turned the badge over, brushed off a faint scuff on the plastic, and studied his own name printed in clean black letters. Darius Cole, Chief Executive Officer. Hale blinked, confusion flickering across his face. Darius met his eyes. "This badge opens doors," he said, voice even, measured, but not minds. The sentence was quiet enough to make everyone lean closer, not from command, but from gravity. Mara swallowed hard. Jenna looked down. Hale tried to recover, forcing a thin smile. "You should have said something earlier." I tried," Darius replied, still calm. "But you were busy handling it." Jenna's head lifted, eyes darting between them. Something in her expression cracked. Shame or realization. It was hard to tell. The intercom chimed again. Briefing will commence in 1 minute. The announcement cut through the air like a blade. Hale stepped aside awkwardly, clearing the path toward the door. But Darius didn't move right away. He adjusted his cuff, slid the ID back into his jacket pocket, and lifted his wrist. The scratched silver watch caught a streak of light bright enough to flash across Mara's camera lens. It made the video flare white for half a second, a burst of unintended symbolism, clarity, blinding everything else. "I'll join the meeting shortly," Darius said finally. Hale hesitated. You're part of the meeting?" Darius gave the smallest nod. "You'll find out soon enough." Mara's breath hitched, the sound barely audible in the hush. Jenna's hands trembled where she held her tablet. Hale's face tightened, the realization dawning but too late, too slow. Another voice came over the intercom, deeper, formal, from the operations channel. "All department heads, please confirm attendance for the executive briefing." The title landed heavier than any insult could. Executive briefing. Hale turned slightly pale. "You." Darius didn't let him finish. "Time's almost up, Captain." The second hand on his watch reached the top of the dial, a perfect circle completed. He stepped past Hale, not hurried, not triumphant, simply inevitable. Each footfall sounded deliberate, as if measured against every second that had been taken from him. Behind him, the door sensor beeped as he passed. The system scanned his ID and flashed green. The door slid open automatically. Mara caught the moment on video. The light of the scanner, the click of authorization, the captain's frozen posture. When the door closed behind Darius, the corridor fell into a strange stillness. Hale exhaled sharply, the sound breaking the vacuum. "What the hell just happened?" he muttered. No one answered. Jenna's voice came out thin, almost reverent. "He happened." Mara stopped the recording, her hands trembling. In the final frame, Darius's back disappeared into the meeting room light. His watch gleamed once before the door sealed shut. The view counter on the internal server ticked higher, again 5,000 became 7. Somewhere in the company's network, the system had already begun copying the clip to more screens. Inside, behind the soundproof glass, Darius Cole stood in front of the conference table, the one reserved for leadership. He placed his briefcase down, straightened his notes, and waited. The conference room light flickered once, then steadied cool, corporate, sterile. Darius stood just inside, facing a table lined with pilots and department heads. The faint murmur of confusion rippled through them like static. Outside the frosted glass wall, Captain Hale hesitated in the corridor, unsure whether to follow. His face was pale now, his authority quietly unraveling. The intercom cut through, neutral and cold. "Briefing room door closing in 60 seconds. The voice had no emotion, but the timing landed like a warning shot. Darius looked up. "It seems punctuality is one thing this company still respects." A few chuckles stirred around the table, uncertain they didn't know him yet, not really, but the quiet control in his tone demanded stillness. Mara Singh stood outside, still holding her phone. The screen displayed a live feed of the same video, now duplicated across the internal network. The viewer count climbed past 12,000. The app's indicator blinked. Recording. Active. She didn't mean to keep filming. She just couldn't stop. Behind her, Hale straightened his tie, trying to recover composure. "You shouldn't be streaming this," he muttered. Mara looked at him. "I'm not streaming. The system is." The words hit him harder than they should have. Somewhere between protocol and panic, Hale reached past her to the door scanner, the one Darius had just used. It flashed red. "Wait," he said, tapping his badge again. Another red flash. Access denied. The door had auto-locked behind the CEO, sealing for session security. Darius was inside. Hale was not. The irony was surgical. 45 seconds, the intercom intoned. From the corner of her eye, Mara saw Jenna approaching. Her headset dangled loose around her neck, her expression uncertain. "Captain, let it go," she said quietly. He's the CEO. They'll sort it out inside. But Hale's pride clung harder than reason. No, this is a restricted briefing. It's... Not anymore, Jenna interrupted. Her voice was steady for once. He's leading it. Mara glanced between them. The corridor had gone eerily quiet, the hum of the air conditioning suddenly loud. 30 seconds. Inside the room, Darius began speaking. Through the glass, Mara couldn't hear the words, only see the calm movements of his hands, the nods of people listening. The light above his head cast a faint halo against the frosted glass, turning his silhouette into something almost symbolic, clarity taking shape behind opacity. 20 seconds. Hale stepped closer to the glass, his reflection overlapping with Darius's. Two men, same frame, one locked out, one centered within. Captain, Mara said softly, it's done. 15 seconds. He pressed a palm against the glass, the sound muffled, but desperate. He doesn't belong there. Jenna's voice came low, trembling but firm. That's exactly what you said before. The air snapped taut between them. Hale turned toward her, the weight of realization flashing in his eyes, but before he could respond, the intercom spoke one last time. Briefing room door, closing at 10, 9, 8. The mechanism clicked. A low hydraulic hum filled the corridor. Mara lowered the phone. She couldn't bring herself to stop recording. The camera caught everything. Hale's hand on the glass, Jenna's silent stare, and Darius's composed figure beyond speaking to an audience that finally looked at him as they should have from the start. 3, 2, 1. Click. The sound was small, metallic, and absolute. Hale stepped back, hand falling away. For the first time, his reflection looked uncertain, like a man who'd just been measured and found wanting. Inside, Darius's voice carried faintly through the sealed glass. Just enough for Mara to hear one sentence. Let's begin with why clarity matters. The door's red indicator shifted to blue. The meeting was now officially in session. Mara exhaled shakily, lowering her phone to her side. Jenna whispered, "You're still recording." "I know," Mara said. "Maybe someone needs to." They both turned toward the window again. Darius's silhouette was steady, framed by the sterile light of a room that had just locked the right man in and the wrong one out. Somewhere deep in the company network, the system pinged a final notification. Incident file uploaded to public archive. 20,143 views. Inside the sealed briefing room, voices overlapped calm at first, then rising. The department heads shuffled their papers, glancing occasionally toward Darius Cole, who stood at the head of the table with his notes unopened. The door's glass panel reflected the shifting light from his wristwatch. Time, once an adversary, now waited for him. "Mr. Cole," one of the senior managers began, his tone formal, hesitant. "We weren't informed that you'd be." "Join you?" Darius finished quietly. "Yes, I noticed." A ripple of awkward laughter broke around the table. It didn't last. He set down his briefcase, opening it with deliberate calm. "Before we begin, I'd like to start with a simple principle." The room stilled. "No system," he said, looking directly at each of them, "stays clean by hiding dirt." The words hung, cool and heavy. A few people shifted uncomfortably. Through the glass, the faint silhouettes of Mara, Jenna, and Captain Hale could still be seen outside waiting, uncertain whether to enter or disappear. But elsewhere, the story had already escaped them. In another wing of the terminal, an intern in the communications department leaned over her screen. "What the?" she whispered. The video was playing in an employee chat group, Hale confronting Darius, the badge, the silence, the watch. The caption read, "Bias training clip, uploaded by AutoShare." She clicked refresh. Views, 19,472. Comments, 358. Her supervisor, Paul Green, director of operations, appeared at her desk, coffee in hand.
"Why are you watching?"
He froze when he saw the thumbnail. The intern stammered, "Sir, it's real footage." Green's face was drained of color. Who authorized this upload? No one, sir. The system auto-synced from a crew account. He stared at the numbers ticking upward. 20,000 views. In the background, messages pinged through the company network from HR, legal, public relations. Confirm authenticity. Is that the new CEO? We need immediate containment. But containment was already impossible. Someone outside the company had screen captured the video and uploaded it to a public forum with the headline, "Airline Captain Confronts His Own CEO." Inside the briefing room, Darius's phone buzzed once on the table. He didn't look at it. A younger pilot leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Sir, there's a video circulating. It appears to involve you." "I know," Darius said. "You do?" He nodded once. It was bound to the surface. Through the glass wall, Hale was pacing now, face pale and tight. Mara whispered something to Jenna, but neither moved closer. Darius looked at the faces around him, uncertain, shifting, some embarrassed, some defensive. He could almost hear the notification spreading from phone to phone, like rainfall on metal. "The problem isn't the video," he said. "The problem is that it needed one." A few heads lowered. He continued, quieter now. "If we ran this airline with half the scrutiny we run from, we wouldn't be losing altitude." Someone coughed. Someone else shut their laptop. The tension wasn't just awkwardness anymore. It was awareness. Outside, the corridor lights flickered. The automatic door signaled red again, locking the briefing room. The company's own security protocol had sealed them in together. Mara lifted her phone, watching the comment section scroll. This can't be real. That's the new turnaround CEO? He didn't even get angry. That's power. Her eyes stung. She turned the screen toward Jenna, who whispered, "They're on his side now." In the corridor, Captain Hale looked as if the oxygen had thinned. "It's everywhere," he muttered. "They're broadcasting this like news." Jenna didn't look at him. Maybe it is news. The hallway filled with the soft chime of incoming messages, a digital storm growing louder with every second. Inside, Darius closed his notes. "We'll continue this discussion in 10 minutes, he said. "There's something I need to address first." He picked up his phone, unlocked it, and read one line on the screen. 20,871 views, trending. He exhaled slowly. The light from the window traced the edge of his face, half shadow, half glare. He looked at the team and said quietly, "Transparency isn't a policy. It's a mirror, and right now we're all standing in front of one." No one moved. Outside, the crowd of employees was beginning to form near the glass drawn by whispers, notifications, and a sense that something larger than a meeting was unfolding. The room darkened. No one had planned it. It just happened when the projector's autosync kicked in, pulling a feed from the company's internal server. On the glass wall behind Darius, the screen flickered to life. At first, it was just static. Then, a familiar image. The corridor, the uniforms, the voices, the video. Mara Singh froze outside the glass, phone in hand. Jenna's hand went to her mouth. Captain Hale stared, his breath shallow. Inside the room, the executives turned toward the wall as the footage played out in real time. Hale demanding identification, Darius's quiet patience, the ID falling, the line that cut through the silence. "This badge opens doors, but not minds." Someone gasped softly. Darius didn't move. He let the playback roll, the light from the screen washing over him like a cold sunrise. By the time the video reached the part where the door locked, that sharp metallic click, the room was silent except for the hum of the projector. Then came Hale's voice from the footage, grainy but clear. "He doesn't belong here." The line hung like a confession. In the real room, Hale stepped forward, lips parting, eyes wide. "Sir, I didn't know." Darius turned slightly, his face half in shadow, half illuminated by the replaying light. "That's the problem," he said quietly. "You didn't need to know. You just needed clarity." The projector light trembled against the wall, flickering between their faces, Hale's pale and stricken, Darius's calm and unflinching. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of realization, guilt, and something almost sacred. "Behind the glass," Mara whispered. 80,000. "What?" Jenna asked. "Repercent that is no brickets. 80,000 views. It's live." Inside, the projector froze on one final image. Darius, standing still beneath the corridor light, holding his watch, the badge shining faintly at his chest. Darius looked out across the table, scanning the room. "We talk about safety," he said, voice steady. "About trust, about leadership, but no system survives when it protects comfort instead of truth." Director Paul Green stood near the door, color draining from his face. "Sir, we can contain this." "No," Darius said. "We can't contain what we refuse to confront." His tone wasn't angry. It was surgical, cutting clean through the excuses before they could form. He gestured toward the frozen frame on the wall. "That's not just a moment. That's a mirror. Every department, every gate, every title in this company reflects what we just watched. The question is whether we'll keep looking away." No one moved. Captain Hale's voice broke the stillness, quieter now. "What do you want me to do?" Darius met his eyes. "Start by listening. Really listening. That's how clarity begins." The words landed soft but final. Hale looked down, then up again, something raw, flickering in his expression, the start of shame, maybe growth. Outside, Mara lowered her phone, tears welling she didn't quite understand. Jenna touched her arm gently, grounding her. In the corridor beyond, employees had gathered, drawn by the screen feed, now mirrored on displays throughout the terminal, the CEO and the captain, framed by light and consequence. The projector dimmed, the silence deepened. Darius exhaled once, not in relief, but acknowledgement. The storm had broken. "Let's get back to work," he said simply. The lights rose, slow and deliberate. The glass reflected two men standing side by side, not equals yet, but no longer opposites. Outside, the viewer count passed 82,000. The room emptied slowly, like a tide retreating after a storm. The executives filed out one by one, murmuring apologies that didn't know where to land. The projector had gone dark, but its afterglow still clung to the walls, a pale rectangle of memory that refused to fade. Only Darius Cole and Captain Ross Hale remained. Through the tall windows, late afternoon light spilled into the room, turning the glass into a soft mirror. The airport stretched beyond, runways gleaming, planes crawling like silver insects under the sun. Neither man spoke. The silence wasn't hostile anymore. It was heavy, but shared. Hale stood near the end of the table, shoulders squared as if still at attention. Darius stood by the window, hands folded behind his back, watching the distant horizon. The hum of the air vents filled the space between them. Finally, Hale spoke. His voice was quieter than before, stripped of rank. "When I was 22, he began, I was stopped in this very terminal. Security didn't believe I was a pilot. Said I looked too young, too poor, 2%. He stopped himself. I waited 3 hours before someone from my crew came to vouch for me." Darius turned slightly, enough to see the reflection of Hale's face in the window. "And you never forgot?" "I thought I had," Hale said, his eyes flicked down. "Guess I just started standing on the other side of the mirror." The words hung there, raw, unpolished. Darius faced the window again. "We both did." Hale frowned. "What do you mean?" Darius's reflection met his. Both men's outlines blurred in the sunlight. "We both lost sight under the same light." Hale looked at him for a long moment, and then away. His hand tightened on the back of a chair. The uniform that once made him certain now felt like a weight. Darius stepped closer to the glass, resting one hand lightly on the cold surface. This company runs on visibility, rank, status, and access. But the truth? He paused, searching for words that would neither accuse nor absolve. The truth is, sometimes power blinds us before it elevates us. Hale's throat moved, but no sound came out. They stood like that for a while, side by side, facing the same light, their reflections blending on the glass. From outside the room, the faint chatter of ground crew drifted upward, the metallic clatter of luggage carts, the distant whine of an engine spool-up. Life moved on, as it always did, unaware of the moral quiet inside one small room. Mara Singh appeared at the doorway, hesitant. "Sir?" Darius turned halfway. Her voice trembled slightly. "They're asking if you'll make a statement. The press has picked it up. Tell them I'll speak soon," he said. "After the audit begins." Mara nodded and withdrew, closing the door softly. Hale exhaled the sound, shaky, uncertain. "You're really going through with it? An audit?" Darius nodded. "Not against anyone. For everyone." Hale gave a dry laugh, not unkind. "That's going to hurt." Darius finally looked at him, direct, this time. So did the silence. Hale swallowed, his jaw tight. He looked out at the runway, where the sunlight flared across the glass, forcing both men to squint. For a moment, the light erased their faces, turning them into equal silhouettes. "I don't expect forgiveness," Hale said quietly. Darius's tone softened. "I'm not offering it, just understanding." Hale nodded once, slowly, not in agreement, but in recognition. The sunlight shifted, sliding down the window frame, dividing the room into halves, shadow and light. Neither moved to cross it. Instead, they stood there, two men in uniforms of different colors, both outlined by the same brightness. Outside, a plane began its roll down the runway, engines roaring into takeoff. The sound vibrated through the glass, rattling a few loose papers on the table. Darius watched it climb. Hale did too. And for the first time since morning, they were looking in the same direction. The next morning broke quiet. The terminal lights hummed in their slow, perpetual dawn. In the executive boardroom, Darius Cole sat alone at the long glass table. Outside, the city shimmered under a thin mist, reflective, almost transparent. His silver watch ticked softly beside a stack of reports. The room smelled faintly of coffee and jet fuel, the scent of motion and waiting. The door opened. Mara Singh stepped in first, followed by Jenna Lee and Director Paul Green. Behind them, Captain Hale lingered at the threshold, hat in hand. No one spoke right away. "Sir," Green began cautiously, "the board's requesting a public response to last night's footage. HR is suggesting a statement, diversity reaffirmation, media control, standard language." Darius looked up, expression calm but unreadable. "We've had enough language, Paul. It's time for structure." He turned to Mara. "How many programs do we have under bias awarenesses training?" 23, she said quietly. "And how many audits on hiring and disciplinary bias have we conducted in the last 5 years?" Green hesitated. "None, sir. Not full audits." Darius nodded once. "Then, effective immediately, we suspend all 23 training programs, replace them with a full system audit from recruitment to flight operations." The room frozen. "Sir," Green stammered, "you mean to halt the programs?" "Yes. For clarity." End quote. The word landed with deliberate weight. Mara's eyes widened slightly. Jenna exhaled, a sound between surprise and relief. Hale shifted his stance, watching Darius carefully. Darius leaned forward, placing both hands on the table. "We've spent years teaching people to see bias. It's time we teach the system to stop creating it." No one argued. He reached for his pen, signed the directive, and slid the document toward Green. "Distribute immediately." The director nodded, still processing. "This will make headlines." "Good," Darius said. "Let the truth do what it's supposed to." A long silence followed. Then Darius removed his watch. The silver band gleamed under the overhead light, catching a faint reflection of the window's pale glow. He turned it over once, reading the engraving on the back, "Clarity is earned." Then he placed it gently on the table. The sound was soft, a single metallic note that filled the entire room. Captain Hale stepped forward. "Sir," he said, his voice low but steady, "for what it's worth, I'll cooperate with the audit. I owe that much to the crew and to you." Darius looked at him, eyes steady. "You don't owe it to me, Captain. You owe it to the sky." Hale frowned slightly, then nodded. Understood. Mara's voice came next, trembling but resolute. "The live stream, it's still being shared. Comments are changing tone, not outrage anymore. People are talking about reform, about clarity." Darius's gaze softened. "Then it's working." He looked around the room at the faces once guarded, now open. "This company doesn't need perfection, it needs truth. That's where clarity begins." No one moved. The hum of the city outside seemed to pause, as if even the air was listening. He straightened, picked up his pen again, and signed the final line of the policy order. Then, almost as an afterthought, he said quietly, not for the record, but for the people in the room, "Let's make clarity our new standard." The words hung there, simple but seismic. Jenna looked toward the window. The morning light had grown stronger, washing through the glass and across the table. It fell on Darius's watch, still lying there, and split into a soft reflection that reached the opposite wall. No one applauded. No one spoke. But the silence that followed felt earned, not empty. Outside, a jet lifted from the runway, cutting through the thin clouds. The sunlight followed it, widening as it rose clear, unwavering, infinite. "So tell me, what did you feel when the captain realized the truth? Did you sense anger or relief? Share your thoughts below what clarity means to you after hearing Darius's story. If this moment stayed with you, leave a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more real stories that challenge bias and celebrate quiet courage. Your voice, your comment, that's how these stories keep flying.